It's a very fast change.
9 days or less. That is all it takes to completely change your life.
Personal Feng Shui is the fastest to work.
Feng Shui Master Marie Diamond is on Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers, showing us how to harness the energy of our environment.
You should be thriving in your space. Like, your home is your temple of intention.
How to manifest our deepest desires.
We can set the intention with our spirit and soul. We can set the intention with our mind and our hearts. But if your environment is telling a different intention, now guess who will win? It's your environment, because it's bigger and it's always present.
And how to create the life we really want in a matter of days. So literally, if we can master our subconscious mind, not only our subconscious programming, but our subconscious environment, like, the world is at our fingertips.
It is.
On an all-new Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. Welcome to Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers, a podcast dedicated to those seeking a more fulfilled and purposeful life through thought-provoking conversation, spiritual exploration, and authentic connections. The intentional movement has begun, and if you found yourself here, you are a part of it. Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers starts now. Hi, Marie. Welcome to Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. I am so honored to have you join me today. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Courtney, and so lovely to be here. Very excited.
I'm really excited too, because like we were talking about right before we jumped on, it's funny, my journey to this podcast and to talking about spirituality and energy openly, although this has been something I've been working on in my life for probably 10 years or more, started with me talking about the home, bringing intention into our home and creating an energy about who we are authentically in our own homes. Until one day I finally realized, like, who am I kidding? Let's just go all the way in and just talk about our own personal energy and all the good stuff, juicy stuff about spirituality. But you are the master when it comes to Feng Shui, the energy in your home, and using that to create the life that you want to live, even beyond your home. So how do we Feng Shui our life?
Well, first of all, I want to tap in what Feng Shui really is. So Feng Shui is literally the wind and water vibration, the qi of our space around us. And so a lot of people think that they need to focus on their mindset, need to focus on their actions to attract the life they want. Some people will focus more on their spiritual aspect. And these are all valuable entrant ways to work with intention. But one thing that most people forget is that the space that they are in is also an energy field. And so Feng Shui is really the energy system that is around for thousands of years, and only since, like I say, the 1980s, when it started coming to the West, that we became more aware of that everything around us is affecting us subconsciously. And so that is actually what we're focusing on. It's not just, making sure we have an intention, but also there are principles, there are laws behind the system. And I compare it a bit with acupuncture. Right? So when we look at acupuncture, we do Tai Chi or Qigong, we're moving the energy flow of our body, even with yoga. But it's actually the energy flow in a bigger space that is where our body is in, constantly where we're living and sleeping and working is affecting us. And that flow of qi can be stagnant, and this flow of qi can be really vibrant. And so based on your birthday, there's also specific acupuncture areas, like places that connect with you personally, that we need to put more intention to. And what we place there, also put it there with intention.
So depending on your birthday, you can use your birthday to actually help create the energy around you more, because, we've talked about that with using our birthday time and all the planetary alignments when it comes to things like human design and astrology, which we've dove into on the show quite a bit. But you're saying that is actually an aspect of your energy field around you and Feng Shuiing your life.
Correct. So based on your birthday and your birth gender, you actually connect with your DNA. You create an energy profile. And so based on that, and people can find that out by going to the free Marie Diamond app. They put in Marie Diamond and they get their energy number app, and you put that information in, and it calculates. And it's not typical numerology. There's a mathematical formula behind it, and then they get a number between 1 and 9. So -5, and then when they go to the app, and I'm just going to it right now, they will actually see a number, and they will get 4 directions, compass directions that are good for them, because compass works with the wind energy. And then they will be able to put in and click on the diamond compass, and the diamond compass will give them 4 directions that are strong for them. So that the chi, the wind vibration, the flow is the strongest. There's one for your success, and that activates your health, that activates your money and career. There's one for your health, for your well-being. There's one for relationships, and one for your wisdom. That means your alignment with spirit. But there are 4 directions that you will see are blank. And these are areas where if you place there something personally, the energy will not thrive. So it will, like, that energy will block you. And so this is a profile that works with you for the rest of your life. And so people use the compass and it's a compass, so you can use it in the center of your space where you're sleeping, where you're living, and where you're working. Because that's where you spend the most time. You don't focus on your bathroom or your laundry. That is just like you go in and out there. It's not really important. So, but if you hold that and then you look what is in your success direction. So, for example, in my success direction, I am very clear about my intentions I put there. So I put my books there, I put my awards there, I put my contracts there, my bank statements. So if they're, physically paper. So I put there and I focus on what is my intention for my success and money. In my relationship direction, I will put images of my family if it's in my living room, because that's where we spend time. But in my bedroom, I focus on my relationship with my husband. In my office, I focus on my clients in my relationship direction, because it's a different intention setting. So we actually look at these places, and that's the first step, and it's very fast working. It works within 9 days. And I was just on somebody else's their podcast, and they just did that, and they changed an image that was in their success direction, and literally the next day she got the highest contract ever. And so what happens is that we can set the intention with our spirit and soul, we can set the intention with our mind and our hearts, but if your environment is telling a different intention, now guess who will win? It's your environment, because it's bigger and it's always present. It's working 24 hours a day. So if it's not aligned, this intention setting between your soul, your spirit, your mind, your body, your heart, and the environment, that is where the intentions and the manifestation is not happening.
Wow. That's so fascinating, because I think from the outside, when you're not really really immersed in the world of feng shui and what this does, I actually never knew it can be so individualized to the person. I think for most of us, we hear feng shui and we hear of, your stairs shouldn't be in front of your front door because the energy goes in and out, or your house should be facing this way. Or I think at one point my husband, when he was starting his company, we got like a Chinese money tree, we'll put it in a certain area. We don't really think about it so individualized, and then you can get really specific. It's not just so much of like the placement of this vase. It's like, you really want to focus on the areas of your life, and each of us. So with the different numbers, do we have different focuses that we are built to really thrive in?
Yes, correct. So, based on the energy number, you will see there's an energy archetype. And so, for example, I'm a number 5, I'm a connector. So the word connecting is something that is so inherent to me. I love connecting with people. I love connecting the dots. I love to connect the East and Western systems of energy. So for me, I'm a bridge. I love that connection. But for somebody else, it will be more the healing aspect of their soul that they want to bring forward. For others, it's more guiding. So there are certain words, and this is a whole profile, and we start explaining that and to work with the app in the book Feng Shui Your Life. But there's also another book that I always suggest to people. It's called the Energy Number book. And that's all available, of course, on Amazon. And so it gives you the whole profile, because based on your number, there's a way how you attract businesses, or where you're good at professionally. There's a way what is good for your health. What are the best steps you can take? There's a way how you really thrive in a relationship. What are the best things to work spiritually with? So there's a whole profile that works with that. And once you know it, you then can start designing your home. And of course, we go in more advanced feng shui, where we look at the front door and we look at more the bigger location of the space. But personal feng shui is the fastest to work, because it's connected with your vibration, and you make sure your home is aligned with your vibration.
So I wonder if there's just so many of us that are just working against our energy, because we don't know these things. And the more I find out about things like astrology and human design and things, like, I really feel like as a whole, as a society, it's just kind of like we're fish swimming up water. We're throwing things at the wall, seeing what works, what doesn't. And so often, we struggle, or things are hard. And I know this from working with my mentors, like, following your intuition, it's more of a flow state. And sometimes we're in it and sometimes we're out, but we can really design our life to be in that flow state once we start to become aware and use tools like this to really tap into our own unique energy.
Yeah, and so it's really beautiful to understand that your home can support your flow state. Yeah. So, and that things get easier and more effortless, because, one of the things I've seen, you can reach your goals with your intuition, with hard working, but then you reach the top of the mountain and you're exhausted. Like, it took so much effort. So what I experience, what my students experience, is that once their home is supporting their flow state of their mind and their heart and their soul, is that things go easier and more effortless, and things are just presented with more ease. And so what happens, they reach that top of the mountain, but they have more energy, right? And they are not so exhausted. And so many of spiritual mentors, also your spiritual mentor, I advise them, right? So to set up their space, and so they know their personal directions, they look at it. And so many people in the self-help world and in the spiritual world, they are my clients, because they sometimes come to me and say, Marie, it's not working, or it's so hard to reach that top or to stay on top. And I said, but look at your environment, because your environment is telling a different story on your subconscious level. And so because it's there 24 hours a day, it will start taking over your conscious mind, because you can focus for 10 minutes on your affirmations or meditate for a half hour, and then you go back in normal life. But your normal life happens in the space that is around you. So if that is not vibrating and with the right intention to support what you want in life, then it's like this creates a friction. Yeah. And so especially when people say oh, I don't like to be at my home to do all the things for work. I go rather to a cafe or a coffee space. And I'm like, you should be thriving in your space. Like, your home is your temple of intention.
Wow. So is our home influencing our subconscious more than that programming that we talk about, almost that, those generational traumas, those things that have been passed down to us, the things that we absorb between the ages of 0 to 7 that everyone talks about as these subconscious factors of how we live our life? Is our home actually influencing our subconscious more, because it's so much bigger than just our subconscious mind?
Well, my grandmaster said it influences you for 1/3 of your results. Yeah. So when I had a conversation with the late Bob Proctor, who was one of my clients, he said, I feel after doing all this work with you that it influenced me 50% on the subconscious mind. Yeah, that was his experience. Now, even, of course, a lot of people are working on clearing up their karma and their programs with their ancestors. When that is something you feel you need to do, great. But you can then also tap into, perhaps I put, my pictures of my ascendants or descendants, depending what you want to work on, in the wrong place for myself. Yeah. So somebody's telling me I am so, and I have so much problems with these programs of my female line. Yeah, like the feminine background, the mother, the grandmothers. And then, I look and she put all these images in her bedroom. Yeah. And I said to her, look, you don't want that in your bedroom. Yeah. You want to give it a space, and there's a specific space for you because that's your wisdom. Your wisdom comes from your lineage. Put that in your family room, in your living space. But you don't want all these people that have passed on in your bedroom, because in your bedroom should be about romance and passion and, in a different experience. So as she put it in and gave it a different space and put a beautiful candle with it, like she honors her in her wisdom direct, she put a beautiful crystal with it, something that really felt great for her. She kind of created a wisdom altar to her ancestors. It went all so much easier to work on the reprogramming. Yeah, because your house programs you, but you can also make sure your home supports your reprogramming.
That's interesting, because when I moved to my house in Tennessee, I didn't have any of these before, but my grandparents were moving at the same time from their house in San Diego to Arizona. And, as you get older, sometimes it's like, oh, they're just trying to pass everything on to us. Oh, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? We don't want it anymore. I'm like, no, I don't want it. All I wanted was the old pictures of my family when they came over from Italy and things like that. And I wanted the stories behind them because I'm a storyteller, and that means so much to me. And one of the very first things I did when I moved here is right in like my dining area, I have this picture of my grandfather with his parents and his grandparents. It's black and white. That's old.
Yeah.
That's like me. He was like a child in it. And it's such a cool old Italian picture. And I framed it and I put it up. And then I lost my grandfather last spring. And honestly, he's in my house with me. Like having him there as like in my dining room next to my table as part of the family. Like I feel almost closer to him now than when he was here Earthside. Yeah. And I feel like that's a little bit of what you're talking about. It's honoring and bringing these things into those certain spaces. And just hearing you talk about it, it's almost like that sounds like maybe one of the most ideal places to put something like that. It's the Italian family at the kitchen at a table. Like it feels like the space for gathering, right?
Yeah, I love that you put it in the dining room. Now you're not spending 3 to 5 hours every day in that dining room, right? So I wouldn't put that in your office. I wouldn't put that in your bedroom. But the dining room area is a perfect place for that. Yeah, or it could be the family room if you have more like where your casual energy of the family is. So you have to think about that. Like I was just talking to somebody, and she had all these pictures of her parents and grandparents in her relationship direction in her bedroom. And, guess what? She's living all the time in the past. So when I talk to her, she can't move on from her past experiences to move into getting out of being alone now into being back in a relationship. I said, take these pictures out, put them in the place where you would hang out with your family, even if they are living in the past because they're passed on. And that was just such a aha moment for her. I said, focus, on the present moment in your bedroom, because that's where romance is present. Yeah. So it's just like, if we start thinking about it, or even people have, urns with ashes, right? So many times I found them I was recently with somebody, and she had them in her office in her success direction. And I said to her, how is business going? She said, well, it feels like death right now. And I said, yeah, but symbolically you put a symbol of death there. Yeah. And she said, but it's my father's ashes, and he was a great businessman. I said, yeah, but he's dead. Let's move this out to an area where you're not active so much and creating money and business, right? So just change that. And she's like, I said, the logo of your company, perhaps you have some certificates, you have some awards. She said, yeah, I have all this in the cupboard. I said, get this out, because if it's in the cupboard, you don't see it visually, right? So we need to create reminders, like really physical reminders in specific places, so that whatever goal we have, we keep seeing that three-dimensional vision board. And because now she was seeing in her three-dimensional vision board the urn of her father with his ashes. That is a wrong message to your subconscious mind.
Wow. I mean, I'm even thinking of that now. I have my Emmy nomination in a cupboard in my, next to the fireplace type of thing. It's like, why wouldn't I bring that into my office where I'm recording and working on, the shows and like that makes more sense. And even I had another talk with another woman about money and manifestation, and she creates like a vision video as opposed to like just the vision board. But now I almost feel like, which I loved. I love that because it like starts to take you into that subconscious, like putting yourself in that, the sound and the visuals of actually moving through the things more than just seeing it on the wall. But like now what you're saying is almost bringing that manifestation thing into like your 3D existence, not just a picture. It's like these constant reminders, but in the spaces that you're creating for whatever area in your life you want to focus on.
Correct. And I'm just giving you, as you speak about the Emmy Award. So Steven Spielberg is one of my clients. And so he was telling me, like, I have 3 Oscars. And it's like I'm not getting an Oscar nomination for the moment, right? And I said, but where are they? So I go in his bedroom, and they're in the bedroom as he's walking to the toilet. And I said, why do you put that there? And he's like, I like looking at them when I go to the toilet. I said, but what is that? Right? So I said, let's put them in your success direction in your office. Honor what you have done, right? Because doing that at night you're not working on your Oscars, it's during the day, right? So he's like, oh, that makes sense. So we put it there, and then he started getting more Oscar nominations again. So we have to pay attention to that. Or another artist, and he loves everything with Star Wars, right? And so especially Darth Vader, he loves the persona of Darth Vader. And so in his office, and he is, a very well-known artist, has many awards, people have billions of views, right? And so, but he was telling me, like, things are stuck. I cannot get to my next album. It's like energy is stuck for me. And so I go to his office, and there's all images of Star Wars. And I tell him, I'm like, that's not your business. Your business is music. So let's get all your awards, all your plaques out. So when you're working in your studio, in your office, that you're focusing on your music. And, as he was doing that, he started getting inspiration, and he got to #1 again on Billboard. So, but I said to him, all these things of Darth Vader, if you have a playroom, where you play games or something, put that there. That's fine. That's fun for you. But focus on what you are doing. And especially in your office, make sure there are images, connections to do with the office that you have and the career that you have. So many times I had Oscar-winning clients or Emmy Award-winning clients or Grammy, and I asked them, "Where are your awards?" "Oh, they're in the cellar, or they're in the bathroom." I'm like, get this out. Honor what you have done in the past, so you create a different future.
Wow. And making these changes, does that just change the energetic dynamics quickly?
Yes, very much. So that's why I'm saying it changes within 9 days. So many times people have changed something, and then like this one person here had put all his awards in the bathroom because he thought it was kind of a cool thing. So we changed it and put it like at the entrance, like when people walked in his office. So we had so many, so I had to divide a few. And so he said, for months nobody has called me. He's a very famous actor and producer, and Oscar winning, right? And so I said, okay, let's see what happens. And he called me a week later. Said, within 3 days, I start having calls of people that suddenly start thinking, oh, I haven't thought about him. He would be good for this role. So many times I've seen that within 9 days, this shift has happened. It's a very fast change.
Wow. What is the uniqueness about 9 days?
Well, because we have 9 directions, so we have 8 compass directions, and we have the center. So there's in
Mhm.
the square of the house, we see there's 9. So when the energy starts moving, it needs to take a 360 degree vibrational field and then land in the
Mhm.
center. And so every day it kind of moves and then it lands, and it lands on a higher frequency. So it could be 9 days. Most people see that. I always ask them, put in your agenda the 9 day after I worked with you. And they're like, oh, this happened, a call came in, somebody paid something, somebody said like, oh, I had so many people that owed me money. Within 9 days, half of them called me and said, I have the money to pay you back. Yeah. And then so the next one is 9 weeks. So 9 weeks is the second. So sometimes bigger contracts won't come in 9 days, right? But then 9 weeks later is like something shifts also. But you have to continue working. It's not just a one-time thing. And sometimes people are very sensitive. They want to change something, like they change their success energy, and then they wait 9 days to work on the next thing because you need to integrate. It's like
Mhm.
an almost like an integration time.
I find it fascinating that it's like the number of 9 days, 9 weeks. That just makes me think of like 9 months having a baby. It takes that
Correct.
time. It's like the birth of something new.
Correct. Yes. And so because there are in Feng Shui 9 numbers and each number stands for something, there are 9 directions, including the center. There's 9 numbers. There's the time is about 9. So when we say 9 means you have completed the circle around the home. The chi has moved around completely and landed and anchored itself on a new level.
Well, I can only imagine the mess that most of us have made since finding ourselves working from home and everything else that COVID brought in.
Yeah.
I can only think that we are probably energetically so out of alignment as a whole because most people don't know this. I'm involved in the spiritual self-help world and I didn't know all these aspects of things. And I feel like I'm quite knowledgeable. So the layman is not going to know all this stuff. And then, all of a sudden the world stops and you're in your home. Now that's really your whole environment. And you bring every aspect, whether it's school, work, all of it into it. And sometimes we're combining spaces. I know for us, when we left San Diego to move to Tennessee, we were in a condo. We had just had our second kid. We didn't have the extra room for him. My husband all of a sudden was working at home. Our bedroom turned into like a dorm room. His desk was like next to our bed and we had our baby's crib in there. That wreaked havoc.
Yeah. So definitely during COVID, it has been more challenging for people. Also because, like you said, a lot of people start working from home or hybrid working. And so, during COVID, I gave 400 interviews because people were all the time thinking, I need to change the energy. So they were like researching me. And so it's all about, for example, some people use their sofa for social gathering and then they work on it for a couple of hours. So it's all about the intention you're setting too. It's like, for example, you work on your dining room, make sure that, the breakfast table is totally cleaned out before you start working. Yeah. So make sure that you, in your time that you spend in certain areas, that you always set very clearly the intention. Now it's time for social life. Now it's intention for my work. In a bedroom, especially a lot of people had their offices in their bedroom. I always suggest to get like a screen, like a paravan, and then make sure that you definitely clean up your bed before you work, right? But put a screen between your bed and the place, because otherwise subconsciously you're still sleeping and you're working, so you're procrastinating. It's very hard. Yeah. And then when you're done with working, then put your screen around your desk so that at night you don't keep working. Yeah. So there's just like small little things we can do to just say like, this is what I'm focusing on right now. And that is what I'm going to do. And that can be your social life. It can be your work. Now, I was lucky I had space enough in my home to kind of retrieve myself to my workspace. so without being, disturbed by the family. But not everybody has that. Yeah. But there's just some small things we can do. So when we're working and we're looking at our time, but we're also making sure we set it up to work, and all the rest is gone. Yeah. And if we then are having social life, then we take all our stuff, and I always said, get a basket, put all the things in it, put perhaps your computer or your tablet and your files, and put it in your success direction in your dining room while you're eating, because it's still activating. But then when you're eating, you cannot have papers around you or bills around you. So make sure you make a clear distinction between what you spend your time on.
Can we feng shui our time specifically?
Well, actually, yes, we can. So based on our Chinese sign and based on the numbers, there are certain hours a day that work better for you. Yeah. So, for example, I'm a rabbit. So for me, a rabbit works better in the mornings. Yeah, because we're very good with sunrises. So I try to avoid at the time of sunset. Yeah. So depending on which Chinese astrology sign, there are certain times that you can work stronger, and then based on the energy number 2. So like I'm a 5, as I shared, so I'm also good like between like 3 and 6. So my day starts early, but I need to finish at 6, because at 6 I really need to not start working anymore. Yeah. So there's like, I can look at his times, and that's what I teach my students. Yeah.
Wow, that just makes me think, because, I've always pushed myself to try and get up earlier and do things in the morning, but I'm not a morning person. And I know I know I'm a dog in Chinese, my Chinese astrology. And now that I'm thinking about it, like my dog is most active at night. So that would make sense.
Yes, so the dogs are more evening energy, yeah, and so they're like alert at evening. They are guardian dogs, like they guard the house, so they guard the house at night, yeah. So they're more strong at that moment, yeah. So early mornings for dogs, let's be honest. I have 2 French bulldogs. In the mornings, yeah, they sleep.
Yes, Ellie can sleep all day, all night, just snooze. I mean, when she was a puppy, maybe not as much, but yeah, she's just chill all day. But then, the minute the sun goes down, it's like she wants to be outside. She wants to be hunting. She's like all around the property. Like she's definitely that nocturnal animal. I'll catch her pacing at night. So it would make sense that if you can figure out your astrology in Chinese, that can help you figure out your,
Yeah, and
where
there
you
are
perform your
some,
best.
yeah, and you can find that out on internet. You can check this out. But it's really helpful because, for example, my husband is a rooster, right? And the rooster, interesting enough, we always think the roosters are morning animals, but actually they're not. They are better in the evening. They
No.
will make sure. Yeah, from the Chinese astrology, they're not morning person, they're evening people. So I need to make sure that my afternoon, when we want to spend time, we make the afternoon. Yeah. So because he goes earlier to bed, because that's literally what roosters do. They go early to bed. Yeah. And so he wakes up early, but his energy is not so strong at the morning as mine. So I can wake up and I'm like immediately on the go, doing interviews, doing sessions, like I'm on the go in the morning. He is towards the evening, right? And so we have found when we then do something in the afternoon towards the evening, we're doing better as a couple.
So did this all come to you? Because I know you had a near-death experience when you were younger. Did this all come to you then? Or was this like learning feng shui? Or is this something that you've learned over the years?
So the near-death experience is something where my connection with spirit totally opened up. Let's put that way. But feng shui is something that is learned. Yeah. Now the great thing with it is that I see energy from a childhood on already. I've been always clairvoyant, so that has been helpful to understand what is going on. But this is learned. I was trained by a grandmaster. I'm a traditional feng shui master, so I really got all this information. But for me, when I started studying feng shui, it was so easy. It was like I understood it right away. I have a very analytical mind. I was a lawyer. I'm a recovered lawyer. So it's just like it just makes sense for me. So I'm very attuned with energy, but I also always was very possible. So when things were explained to me in a very difficult way, because the feng shui grandmasters, they don't give all their secrets away right away, and so but it made sense to me, and I have the ability to explain it in a very easy way. And so because I had access to the quantum field and saw the change of people's chakras and aura fields, I saw more than traditional feng shui masters. So a lot has been added in my diamond feng shui school, where I work a lot with colors, where I talk about how it changes your brain waves. So I add a lot of the quantum physics to it, and that is something that I added because of who I am and what I saw over the years. But when I do feng shui, I am a traditional feng shui master, and I learned all the steps that needs to be done to really activate. But I had the connection to explain it in a better and easier way than typical feng shui masters would do.
So the quantum physics is almost like giving a steroid to feng shui. You can bring in the quantum fields to really boost it all. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, I call feng shui the quantum physics of the environment. So if we start understanding that everything has frequency, everything has a wavelength, so that, and also in the quantum physics field, even if you're not in your home, you are literally at the same time still be affected by it if you're there or not, because in the quantum field, there's a telepathic connection between something that vibrates in one space and in the other space. So I say to people, set up your space, even if you're traveling, it still is working for you because it's in the quantum field of yourself.
So what happens when you're traveling and you're physically in another space? Can that shift the whole energy of your quantum space and what you're manifesting or your intentions are? Even if you have it set up the way you want it to at home, does it play a part on you as you're away
It
from
does
your
play
home?
a part on you, but only if you stay there for 9 days. So if
Okay.
you just like 1 day, 2 nights in a hotel room, you're fine. But for example, you go on a longer trip, then I always say to people, you have your app with you. I travel sometimes, for longer than 9 days. And so I have always pictures of my family with me. I always have my books with me. So I put things in the hotel room or in the Airbnb or wherever home I'm staying. I put things in place. Not all the feng shui, but some things that I know are important. So I'm staying aligned with what I have at home. Yeah. So, like I have a vision board, put your vision board in your success direction. I have a copy of my vision board. I put it in my success direction of my hotel room. So there are certain things I keep doing to keep staying connected with that quantum field. But if you're staying less than 9 days, then your home is still dominating the vibration wherever you are.
So let's say you go on a 2-week trip to Europe. I did this a long time ago. But I was 5 days in one spot, 4 days here, a couple days here. So is it like 9 days whole, or is if you're continuously moving within the 9-day increments, you're still going to be
No,
connected more
the
to your
fact
home?
that you're 9 days away from your home is
9 days
wherever
away.
you're staying. So my students, they have little feng shui kits with them, little crystal, little candle. They have pictures of their family. They have perhaps a folder with all their projects. Their favorite book that they're reading. So you can, literally, we use what you have, to create a space around you. So that's the first thing I always do. I come in, I have a book with me, I have my picture with me, I get my app, I put it in the right direction. I make sure there's no garbage can in my success energy, because otherwise my success goes into the garbage. So I just, dead flowers, I take the dead flowers away, because dead energy creates dead intentions. So just like, I just redirect a little bit the energy till I feel like, I'm at home. I feel calm. I feel peaceful.
Well, I like how you're saying that, even like dead flowers or things like that. It's almost like you're bringing in the elements of nature into it. It's we need to look around us at what makes sense, whether it's living, what are we trying to breathe life into and what are we trying to let go of, and follow suit with the things that we're putting in those places. Like, that's great that I want a picture of my grandfather and his family. Everyone in that picture has passed. So let's not put it into a space that I'm trying to bring life to.
Correct. Yes. Or you're creating life by you creating your podcast, or you're creating new projects. So you need to understand that it all affects you, because we think we don't see it, but your subconscious mind picks up everything around you each time you come into that space. Yeah. And so then people feel like, I don't like that space, but why is that? Yeah. Right. Well, because look around you. What is vibrating there? What is the intention that you placed in that space around you?
So literally, if we can master our subconscious mind, not only our subconscious programming, but our subconscious environment, like the world is at our fingertips.
It is. And that is what we see with people, that these big shifts are happening. And I said they were already aligned with spirit, probably. They do spirituality, meditation. They were probably already aligned with the mindset, taking the right actions. But still things didn't come in, because the space around them is where we bring things in. That's where we receive the opportunities and the possibilities in life. And if that is not telling the same story, it is literally staying outside of our house. It stays outside of our space. And that's exactly, what happens. And I was just a few days ago with Jack Canfield, the Success Principles, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And so we were hanging out for a couple of days together with a mastermind in New Orleans. And he was telling the story. He said, I was in my home and nothing was really happening. I wanted to go worldwide, but I was only being asked to speak in the US. And then Marie comes in and she said, you're sitting in the wrong position. The things are just not aligned. I want you to put a globe and put it in my relationship direction. And she asked me to spin the globe. Yeah, now literally you have globes that spin out of themselves now, right? And so he said every day we spin the globe, and suddenly people start calling me from other countries to start speaking there and performing. And he said a few months later, his wife called me and she said, can we stop spinning the globe? Because he's booked for the next year worldwide. Yeah. Right? So, and he was telling the story to some other people, and he said, I'm very aware, I gave permission with the intention. I wanted that, but now I gave permission to my environment to say, yes, I'm open to really, it's not just in my mind, it's open. I am open to that. So I always put a globe in my relationship direction in my office, because I have a global community. And so do you, Courtney, with your podcast and your show. So put a globe there, and regularly, not every day, regularly I spin it. Yeah. So just to say to humanity, I'm open to you. Right. And so, but I don't place that in my bedroom. I don't want people from all over the world to get into my bedroom. Right. So that's focused on my relationship, and with 34 years married. So that is important. That's my focus. And in my living room, yes, I want people to come from all diversity and all cultures to come and visit me. I'm totally fine with that. But you need to know where you place certain things.
Wow. My mind is just racing right now through my house. Like, okay, where do I need to change these things to start to bring in all these manifestations and intentions? How amazing. So how can we work with you? How can we be coached by you? I know all your books are available. Listen to your podcast. Give us all the details.
So yes, so they can go to mariediamond.com, and there they have access to, it shows the app, the podcast, the YouTube channel, the Instagram. We have every 2 days amazing videos on Instagram. Marie Diamond Official is always the link they go to. They can get the book Feng Shui Your Life that just came out with Hay House. get my free app. You will get notified there. And of course, if people are interested to work with me personally, they can go to the website and send an email to the contact. So to do personal work with me or consulting or mentoring. And we also have people that are certified, and we have a certification program because, I can't do it all.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've learned so much. It is so fascinating, and I can't wait to start making some changes and see what happens.
Thank you so much, Courtney, and thank you for what you do in the world and your beautiful contribution to humanity.
And that's it for today's Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Marie Diamond, for the brilliant, mind-blowing conversation all about Feng Shui and the different energetics of our spaces. If you want to work with Marie to change your life, I'll put all the information in the show notes below. And as always, you can find Intentional Living with Courtney Meyers and Intentional Media on our website at CourtneyMyers.com. That's where you'll find our books, our courses, and everything else we have going on. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.